over you. And never they have a remedy or a cure. Some call it doctor or emergency crew. I'm a carrot feeling like oh, wicked. Oh, your love is wicked. Oh, your love is wicked. Oh, your love is wicked. Listen, love it, it's sexy. Baby, I am missing you. I'm a pillar, cause your love is wicked. Cry me a river, cause your love is wicked. Friends come around, say your love is wicked. But the kisses when you give, don't you know it's wicked? Wait for your call, cause your love is wicked. Can't sleep at all, cause your love is wicked. Pain in my heart, cause your love is wicked. But the love when you give, don't you know it's wicked? Boy, your love is wicked. Boy, your love is wicked. Boy, your love is wicked.
Listen all day, every day on your favorite streaming platform. The clean, fresh sound. Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
All right, and we are back, and I am talking, and this thing is upload, so let me drop it. All right, there we go. All right, so good morning, folks. For those of you in need of a time check, it is 8:10. Government workers, I think y'all late. What time government work start? Is 8 o'clock? Are you even sure?
Yes, 8.
It's 8?
8.
All right.
Hear me saying 8. It's not 8, but I believe 8. 8, yes.
All right. So for government workers, if you're strolling in now, you're 10 minutes late, right?
And they're going to take that out your retirement, just so you know.
Huh?
They're going to count those minutes for when you're ready to retire. Well, I know that
You
for
been
teachers.
serious?
I know that for teachers. I don't know about the rest government workers. Like when you're late, I was told that it's time for you to retire, somebody is going to sit down and go through your entire file, and they're going to count up all of those minutes, and there will be deductions. Nothing for overtime. When you work overtime, nobody is saying that. But when you're late, somebody counting them minutes. That's why
sure it wasn't something to just to scare y'all to come in on time?
Well, if it was that, then it was that. But we were told many times.
Yeah?
You were told. Yes. When we come late, we have to write it in red.
No, you see. So yes, this is not the topic, folks, but hold on, right? So yes, I can understand punctuality is a thing, right? Mm-hmm. I know that yes, persons need to be punctual, but there are going to be instances when people are late for whatever reason, right? But you know, one of the other things that I always look at is the fact that sometimes people don't even look at the fact that you are either working through your lunch hour, you don't take your break.
Nobody's seeing
you're
that.
Working overtime. You're working on weekends.
What is that?
You know,
I cannot see that.
I think that sometimes there needs to be a little bit of a flexibility. But I don't know. I don't know. I can understand habitual lateness. I can get that, but anyway, that's a different topic. That's a different topic altogether. All right, so.
You know that song it was played, Love is Wicked. I saw a joke the other day on the internet saying when Brick and Lace were trying to warn us about love, instead we take heed, we were singing and dancing.
And we still singing and dancing. You think we learned anything after all these years?
Still singing and dancing.
We still singing and dancing. Love is wicked. That's another topic by itself. All right, we're not getting into that at this time. All right, so yes, good morning to everybody. Hope that everybody so far you're having a good one. And just wishing everybody a good morning so far. Well, wishing you a good day, actually, not just a good morning. All right. So several persons reminded us, not that we had forgotten, but yes, today is September 11th. It's recognized as September 11th. And for those persons who may not be aware of what September 11th is, it was the day in the United States 23 years ago in 2001 when airline hijackings and suicide attacks were committed by 19 militants with the Islamic extremist group Al-Qaeda and against targets in the U.S. All right, it's the deadliest terrorist attack on U.S. soil on American soil in U.S. history. All right, Some 2,750 persons were killed in New York, 184 persons at the Pentagon, and 40 in Pennsylvania, where one of the hijacked planes crashed into the ground after the passengers attempted to retake the plane. All 19 terrorists died. All right. Police and fire departments in New York were especially hard hit. Hundreds rushed to the scene of the attacks, and more than 400 police officers and firefighters were killed. All right. So, yes, today in the States is generally a solemn day, as many persons, I probably shouldn't just say in the States. Yeah, because
we sort of have our own 9/11 too. It was this time not last year, 2 years ago, when the van went off the road out in the countryside with the five persons from Cleverly that died. So that's the Vinci 9/11.
Yeah.
No, 2 years ago. It's 2 years now. Already? Yeah, I know, right? 2 years already. Yeah.
You know what? And there was another thing that happened on 9/11 in Vinci, because I remember when that incident happened, somebody did a posting of what 9/11 also means to us in SVG. And there was something else that also happened, but I never kept the information. So yeah. Oh wow. I forgot about that. So it is a solemn day for many folks. And in terms of the US attack, I shouldn't just say it's about Americans, because Vincentian also died as a result of that attack, as well as many persons within the Caribbean would have been impacted in around the world. Let me just say around the world, right? Would have been impacted as a result of this attack. And again, in relation to the incident that happened I just remember it was in north of the island. It's Sandy Bay. Oh yeah.
I don't remember the exact village I illustrated, but it was somewhere out that side. Yeah.
So again, for my fellow residents in Clare Valley, yes, today would be a solemn day as well for those who are, the village, because remember it is a close-knit village, and many persons are related, so it is going to be a solemn day for several folks. So that is our history. And they always say one of the things for many persons is that they could remember what they were doing and where they were when they heard the news of 9/11. You born yet?
Yeah.
20, but you would have been like 6.
I was small. What year it is?
2001, 23 years ago.
Oh, let's see, 2001, I was
about 6. How old are you, Dianna? Right?
Yeah. I had to count down and see. Yeah,
she was about 6. So I remember where I was. I actually had just gotten results 2001. Yeah, I graduated. I was actually by the seamstress organizing clothes for me to start working. For me to start work, right, as a teacher. So that was where I was when I got news. And it's this thing that it stays in your mind in terms of exactly where you were when you heard the news. Because I remember her stopping and like a plane run into a building in the States. I was like, what do you mean? Because my brain couldn't understand at the time, comprehend what exactly she meant, But yeah, everything stopped for a bit, and we looked at the news and so forth. So yeah. Yep. All right, so let's jump into our topic for this morning.
Kojo said something. I think he was responding to the what we were talking about with the government. He says, here, with my government work, you miss days if you have more sick days, all that add up as time for you to work before retirement.
Here, with my government work, you miss days if you have more sick days, all that adds up. Okay, it's interesting. Okay, interesting. All right. So we're going to have to leave that topic for another occasion, all right? Because there's a bit of a give and take in my view, but I know punctuality is punctuality, attendance is attendance, and all that stuff, right? So, all right. So our topic for this morning is... all right. Our topic for this segment is... All right, let me put it up. So an article came out yesterday with regards, it's on ANN, government responsible paying the police, not ICC. So we're still on this topic, right? Still on this topic, but now it's in relation to the police or members of the police force. So reading from ANN, members of the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force are expressing growing frustration over the non-payment of wages for work done during the ICC World Cup, which took place nearly 3 months ago. According to voice notes obtained by ANN, but people just really send voice notes to ANN too. But anyhow, reportedly from a union representative within the force, officers have been left in the dark about when they will receive their payment with no clear communication from the relevant authorities. Okay, I have to read it in full. All right. So in the voice notes, the union representative recounts a conversation with Kishore Shallow, president of the West Indies Cricket Board. Mr. Shallow told me that the hold up with the money is due to an ongoing reconciliation between the government and the ICC, the leader said. They're trying to figure out which portion of the government is supposed to pay and which portion the ICC is responsible for. The union representative expressed disbelief at this explanation, calling for better communication from the authorities. I believe someone is trying to shift blame here, but I don't want to make negative comments. I've never supported strikes or sick outs, but what I do believe in is unity. We need to come together, have meetings, and discuss this because it's not fair how they're treating the police with such disrespect. The representative further highlighted the lack of information given to the police force. It has been almost 3 months and we are still waiting for our hard-earned money. Nobody in authority has come to us to explain why. Communication has always been a problem within the organization and it needs to improve. According to the union representative, Mr. Shallow explained that in the initial negotiations, the host country agreed that their respective governments would be responsible for paying the police, while the ICC would pay the rest of the staff. However, the police force was never informed of this arrangement. We were told that the ICC would be paying us and at what rate, the leader explained. Mr. Shallow said that was not the arrangement. The local governments are responsible for paying us. The union rep also mentioned a conversation with the head of a local security firm who is also a retired senior police officer, confirming that other Caribbean countries which hosted the ICC World Cup have already paid their police forces, yet we have not been paid, the representative added, voicing the officers' growing discontent. One officer told ANN that RSVGPF might have issues to work cricket duties for the international matches slated to take place here in December. The call for unity and collective action comes amid mounting concerns about how the matter has been handled, with police officers demanding clarity and fairness regarding their payments. When ANN contacted Shallow for his comments, Kishore Shallow, president of the ICC, told ANN, the host agreement clearly outlines that general security, including the provision of police officers, is the responsibility of the host country. Cricket West Indies has already paid for specific components under our remit, such as protection officers. However, general security around the event falls to the government. Continuing the Kishore's Shallow statement, I want to clarify that I did not state that police in other countries have been paid. That information may have come from elsewhere. What I can confirm is that the only country from which we've received complaints regarding unpaid police officers is St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Right, and there is a image of it's an unsigned document, but it's the proposed hourly rates for officers of various ranks within the police force that's attached to the article. So this situation is still here, right? I know that last week when one of the callers called, the update was that, well, he was contracted by somebody else. And Dr. Shallow mentioned that persons who have not been paid as yet would be paid, I think it's by this week. I think that was the update. It should be by this week, right? So in terms of some persons were already paid and some persons are still to be paid. And that final set of persons, what was said then is that they should be paid this week. Now, this is an interesting situation, right? I actually ended up having to call a friend of mine who's a police officer last night to get some clarity on it, because one of the first thing that I had a question with was that, so police are generally asked to do duties, right? Yeah. And what it is that I couldn't quite understand was, is it a case where they were going to be working outside of the regular work hours? Because looking at it, they're receiving a salary. Mm-hmm. You go to work for 8 hours. It doesn't, for me, in my head at the time of thinking is that you are assigned to work wherever, and that's your 8 hours. So you receive a salary. What it is I could understand at that time is that if you work extra duties or extra hours, then you will be paid for that overtime. And that's why I thought the ICC was coming into play. What it is that I was told is that generally when officers work at a paid event, an event where persons are paying to attend, that officers are paid. There are some events where they would not be paid. Let's say, like at rural carnivals, if they have to provide, but I don't want to say security, but those are policing duties. At things like rural carnivals, some CDC events, CDC would pay, but like be a lump sum. But if they're going to work at different events, that there is a rate that they normally would be paid to work at these events, right? Interestingly, the rate that some of the figures that he called out was lower than what I'm seeing there in the rate schedule for ICC, right? And when he explained to me what has happened is that, so he's not an officer who would necessarily work on weekends, but he had to work on the weekend. He was providing security, or he was assigned to a team. And for some of the persons, they were assigned duties that's at La View, Sandals. Some of them were actually assigned to teams. Some of them would have worked at the cricket grounds at Annesville, at Sion Hill, etc. Right? So, and they were working long hours. So for many of them, they worked over the 8 hours, typical 8 hours off, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But I honestly, I'm not sure what is going to happen here. And the thing of it is that Dr. Shallow has made his statement. So the unsigned document, I don't know if it was finalized. The signed version was not there, was not posted. So who does this actually fall on?
Question.
That is the question that I'm going to have to ask is, who is this actually going to fall on?
Because I was looking at the thing here. Trying to pull up the exact part of the article, but it states something about the initial agreement between the government and the ICC. I want to find the correct thing to read it.
So they're trying to figure out which portion the government is supposed to pay and which portion the ICC is responsible for, that part?
I'm not sure. Oh, no, not that. Where did it go? Okay. According to the union representative, Mr. Shallow explained that in the initial negotiations, the host countries agreed that their respective governments would be responsible for paying the police, while the ICC would pay the rest of the staff. So in the initial negotiations at the beginning of all of this, the countries, the ICC, in discussions with the countries that are going to host the games, the countries agreed the government would pay the police. So if that was the initial agreement, to agree means to say yes, not true? Just, if I agree, I'm saying yes to whatever. So I'm trying to understand if that was the initial agreement, how we reach here. So why are we in this? Why are we having to discuss this? And why is this an issue?
And that's the thing. The rates that are proposed here, as I said, it's higher than what would normally be the rate for police officers, right? Mm-hmm. Would government actually even want to pay this rate? Because this is higher. This is a higher figure, right? And it's not to say that police officers, if you are assigned a duty, you're assigned a duty, right? You really and truly should not call in sick, send in sick leave, and that sort of thing, right? You're assigned a duty. But you know what it does is that it does lend a bit of the discontent within the force again, right? Because without clear communication in terms of what's happening, and many persons, many officers, they were awaiting this money, right? Many of them were hoping to have this money in time for back to school, so that they'd be able to a little bit with a bit more ease organize their children for going back to school, and if there is this expectation, because I suppose, and this is one of the things with the ICC too, because it's not something local, it's not something government as well, you're expecting that the money would be sure, right? May not necessarily in this case have been on time, but you're expecting that the money would be sure. And when you have to look at the way in which some police officers feel, how they feel they're being treated, the $500 from Sufre is still outstanding to them. When you have to look at all of these things combined, it really does make it difficult for some police officers to feel as if they're appreciated. Now, I know that they go into the force. Yes, they know that they have to work long hours. Yes, they know this. Yes, they know that.
Yeah.
But there are also going to be instances where if they're under I don't want to use the word assumption. If they're under, they're thinking that, or the assurance that this money is what they're going to get for putting in extra hours, longer hours. Some of them would have worked 12-hour shifts, etc., or even more, that they were going to get this. And how does all of this compounded situations or incidents or matters leave them feeling in the end?
Exactly. And I see they mentioned in the article some match in December. I haven't heard anything about that, but if we're going to have international matches here in December, and now we are having this issue of non-payment, are people going to, well, unless you're in a job where you don't have a choice, if they say go, you gotta go, are people going to be interested in working for this, not just this match in December, but anything else that we're going to have in the future? Because persons are going to remember, if there's one thing, people are going to remember the bad stuff. So they are going to remember this experience for those that walked. And so they may not want to ever walk to be a part of anything at all again that involves the government or international or regional entities. One, and persons who did not walk, seeing this, would not be encouraged to even do so.
Well, the interesting thing with that this time is that even persons who were on vacation, who had applied for vacation, they had to come in. They had to, officers weren't on vacation at that time. So, it is a difficult one. I know. So we always have cop chats, and I know that the police force, they're trying, right? In some regards that they are trying. But when you have situations like this, and in many instances, again, it comes down to lack of communication or improper information that is being disseminated. All of this comes back down to how do officers feel in the end? Are we getting officers who actually want to be here working in SVG? Are we getting officers who are actually putting in the effort?
And that could break the spirit of a really good officer, somebody who is willing to work and help. But when you see, it seems as if you're just being taken advantage of, and persons aren't looking at you as if you're human, because this whole process, it could really break their spirit. So even if there was somebody who would normally get up and volunteer without having to be asked, they may not feel like doing that anymore. And it comes down, I think, this whole thing going on here again, our communication. We're always talking about our communication in Vinci, not communicating properly. So I think this is another one of those examples, because still trying to wrap my head around, you agreed, you're going to do this, time come. First of all, the persons involved seemingly did not know that, because they've been asking around and asking about payments. But now we're hearing from the ICC, hello, that was not our responsibility. We were to pay this particular group of people, and somebody else was supposed to pay them. So there was some miscommunication, misinformation, something along the lines.
Yeah, but you see the other thing too, and as the officer who I spoke with last night informed me, is that other police officers in other Caribbean islands, they have been paid.
Yes.
And this is what I was asking. So who exactly paid them? Was it that ICC gave money, let's say, to the government, and then government paid them? Or did the money come from government directly?
What the things say from the article from the people involved. Got the host countries agreed they would pay their police officers.
Yeah, so I sometimes feel it for the office. Well, I shouldn't say sometimes. I do feel it for officers, right? When it comes to this whole issue of promotion, or lack of transparency with promotion, and even for many of them, they're just disgruntled. And the thing of it is that there are many who are trying. They are trying because we have an escalating escalating murder in terms of gun related crimes here in SVG. And we do need officers who actually want to be in the force.
Yeah.
Right? We also do not want to have broken families here because many persons are leaving to join regional and international military services. You know, yes, it's one thing for them to send back money to help with their family and so forth, but many of them have wives, many of them have girlfriends, many of them already have children. Do many of them actually want to leave SVG, go to a foreign country just for the sake of money? And then what happens with these families? You know, so it's not just about sending back home money, but we have to look at everything. And is enough being done to retain the officers here? And in retaining the officers here, are they actually giving of their best service? Are they actually going into work, wanting to go to work? You know? So I would await. I don't know who it is we're going to get a response from, but it would be interesting to see if we do get a response in terms of an update with regarding this. If there is going to be some clarification in terms of what was stated in the article, we would await that, because we've seen that there has a comment was given by the ICC, by Kishore Shallow, president of Cricket West Indies. He has given his statement. So now we have to hear a statement from the other side. Whoever is going to be responding on for the other side, we would await that. All right, to see maybe where there was a breakdown in communication and how this matter is going to be resolved. But
you know, sometimes in the country we make certain calls for people to come and do certain work, and people don't respond. Usually we sort of knock them sometimes, and we also we question why nobody going for this work, why wouldn't people? But you know, things like this, people would have them in their mind, people would be keeping them in their mind. And even though they probably should not use one event to say judge another event or make their decisions about another event, it is going to happen. You know, especially when the government is involved. The minute you hear government, you know, people start feeling a particular way, and usually we get upset with people. But we have to look into why. Why do they feel this way? What was the thought? What was the fear? What was it that caused people to think this way, to not want to do something or to want to do something? What is it? Things like this.
yeah, so as we said, so we are just giving our thoughts in relation to the article as stated. So we will await to see if any response is given. All right.
Somebody could just say, I think we need to hear from both sides. Absolutely. He said to call the PM and ask him about. Could you hear
Should to call the PM about this? No, anyway. All right. All right. So we are going to jump out at this time, and we will be back in about 5 minutes or less with more commentary on today's Activated Mornings program.